The scholarship world is changing a lot, a whole lot. There is a lot of funding that has been cut or either has been cancelled altogether. And this is not just happening in the US, a lot is happening also in the European continent. Programs that used to be really well known have had their funding either slashed or completely cancelled, or some of the programs are preferring people from certain regions just because they have some sort of cooperation or collaboration. So this video is for you, a student who is thinking of coming to the European continent or any other continent really to study either postgraduate, your undergraduate, your PhD, whichever the case, or maybe even research. I'm a strong advocate for study abroad. I am a study abroad consultant. And if you're new here, my name is Ndutawambura. Please, if you have any types of questions or you would like me to go through your application, you can always book an appointment with me on the description box down below. And I'll be more than happy to give you my guidance as well as check your application and maybe give you constructive criticism where necessary. Now, one of the things that you realize and you will see already is that most of the scholarships would be more competitive. They were already competitive, and now they're going to be even more competitive. Why? Because one, there is a lot of things that are changing, especially in terms of the amount of money that is available to fund somebody who is maybe even coming to do a master's, a PhD, or even an undergraduate. So one of the things that you have to do as an applicant is to make sure that first, your application stands out. Your application stands out and does not have pitfalls, for instance, misses documents that have been, already, stipulated on the website that you need this document and you have to have it. If you miss any one of the documents, this would be a sure way, a very quick fire way of you to be disqualified. So one of the things that you have to look out for is your documentation. Ensure that it is in place and all the documents that have been stipulated are in place to the T. Okay, and also that your application is standing out among all other global applicants. Always ask yourself why you and not everybody else who is applying for these scholarships. Is there something that you have that stands out towards that application that would set you apart? Or is it that what you want to do in the future is something that stands out? What is your story? You really have to be very open towards your application and ensure that you are putting your very best and you are putting your very best on a piece of paper, because this is something that I always say, that you are introducing yourself to somebody who has never met you, asking them to fund you. So that's one of the things that you can really have some sort of control over, is getting your documents as well as making sure that your application is excellent. Another thing that you can do to ensure that your application is excellent is speaking to alumni or people who've already gone through the same program and asking them what exactly did they do, and maybe approaching them in a way that is actually nice. So you can go on LinkedIn, introduce yourself to this person and request whether they can check your application to see whether it stands out or what you can do to improve the application. One other thing that you also have to realize is that this is a big competition, right? And so if you're rejected for the first time, please keep applying for the second and the third time. You cannot give up in the scholarship world, because a lot happens and you can be very discouraged, especially if you thought that this would be your gateway for your studies, and then you're rejected the first time and you get discouraged. I'll tell you for free, I did not get my scholarship the first time I applied for it. So I have had to apply elsewhere and apply again, and I got it only the second time. I actually got Erasmus only for the second time that I applied for it. And I had other applications that I had done in various other places that were rejected. So it's important to know that you cannot give up in this process. One other thing that you also have to realize is that it is about time for you to diversify and apply for as many scholarships as you your skill set actually meets. Because it's not as many scholarships as you can, because you do not qualify for all of them. It is about time to realize that you actually don't qualify for all the scholarships. So stop applying for scholarships that you don't qualify for, because that is going to be a waste of time, a waste of the scholarship committee's time, and it is unnecessary. It's sheer unnecessary for you to apply for something that you don't qualify for, which is why I always say, please read the fine print of the eligibility criteria that has been stipulated by a scholarship. Because scholarships usually have a mission, they have a vision, they know exactly who they want to pick out, because they have to meet this vision and mission, and they have to justify the reason as to why they're using a certain amount of funding towards a certain student and not any other student. So diversify and apply for scholarships that you qualify for to the letter, because again, not all scholarships are like Erasmus, whereby you can be, maybe you did a certain bachelor's degree and then ended up in a certain field, and so you have experience and you can justify that experience towards Erasmus Mundus joint master's programs. Not all programs function the same way. So diversify, look for scholarships, for instance, in governmental scholarships. In the European continent, we have several scholarships that happen within certain governments, and they allow international students. You can find these ones, either name any member state, they will have some sort of governmental scholarship that also has a certain percentage that accepts international students. So look for such scholarships and apply for them. Look for also scholarships that are not in quote unquote the very popular countries, because when I speak to students in Kenya, all they want to do is either go to the UK, to Australia, they want to go to Germany, they want to go to France. The big five that I say, it's always like, either you're going to these countries because they have some sort of name, or maybe you're going to places because that is where English is spoken. Okay, I get that part. But then again, diversify and look for scholarships, even in places you potentially have never heard of. And what I will tell you is that those ones are less competitive as compared to other scholarships. And I understand the fact that you will tell me, oh, Nduta, but I want to study in an excellent institution. You can still find excellent institutions in places or countries that you potentially have never heard of. That's, big news, big news. So important to do your research, right? Because there are scholarship applications that, you will really qualify for, and you will wonder, why didn't I ever choose this country? And in fact, some of these countries which are not so known, they might be maybe cheaper to stay in those countries as compared to the big five: France, Germany, UK, Australia, wherever you feel that this is where I need to study. But I also do understand, if you all are only invested in a certain country or a certain institution, then ensure that you're doing an excellent application, going back to the first point, right? Another thing that you can do to ensure that, this scholarship wave is not working against you is to make sure that you're also reaching out to the university. Sometimes it's always like, maybe you reach out to the program in case something is unclear. One thing that I always see with students is that they are very afraid of asking very small questions to a certain scholarship committee. For example, a thing like, English language test, and requesting whether you can have this waived. This is one of the things that you could do. The least that a scholarship committee could do is saying, no, we are not going to waive this. You have to do the English language test. So shoot your shot and see exactly what is it that, they could, you could potentially get some sort of help if at all you really do need it. One other thing to also do is to leverage on, if it is an upskilling thing or a reskilling thing that you want to do, you could also find some online programs that are also funded, and you could do them in the comfort of your homes. For some people, I always meet some people and they're like, what, I do not want to leave my own home country. However, I would want to shoot my shot in a different institution in a different country. There are also other distance programs, or they are not so forthcoming, I'll tell you for sure, but you can also look for online programs that could also help you towards your upskilling or your reskilling. And again, also depending on the field that you're in or where you're working, it would also maybe mean that you're doing even short programs. The power of short programs is quite unspoken, because there are several universities that offer short programs, some of them even fully online, and then you get to graduate maybe in the university, physically. And some of these programs are super underrated, yet they give you the exact right skills that potentially maybe even what a master's program could have given you. This is again dependent on the field. For some, I know, for example, if you're in engineering, or maybe you're a doctor, or you're in law, maybe it would be important for you to be physically there so that you can be able to do practice on the ground. And also for some of these courses, if you also, are very clear with exactly what do you want to do after this program, which is something that I always speak about, be extremely clear about what exactly do I want to do after the program, because it's not just coming to study and it's all fun and games, and then once you graduate, then it hits you and you're like, okay, so what next? It's important to answer that question of what next even before you apply for a program, such that that drive can ensure that you're shooting your shot for the right programs, and you're not just applying for the sake of applying. So the what next question can be either you want to do a PhD later after you do your master's, or maybe you want to do a master's after you do your undergraduate, or if, for example, you want to work in that country that you're choosing, or you want to go into academia. Answer the question as clearly as possible. I know for some it could change over time depending on the experience that you have within a certain country, but have this clarity before you can even apply for a scholarship, such that whatever the institution that you see out there that is offering a certain scholarship, you can take it up depending on your future plans. So for example, maybe you see that, you had the dream to go and study in the US. However, you find a scholarship that is similar to your field that is in a country like, for example, you've never gone, Latvia. And you're like, this is the same exact field of being offered a full scholarship, etc. And then, maybe even you see, this is just an example. I'm not saying that this is existing right now, but maybe even that scholarship that you see, maybe it's a master's program that ties into a PhD, then this would be a plus for you. So these are the kind of things I'm talking about. Another thing that is changing in the scholarship world is the direction within which most scholarships are taking. So you find that most funding is within things like green energy, things to do with climate, and so on and so forth. So you can already see the direction within which most of the scholarships are actually, having their vision and their mission. And so it is important for you to also ensure that maybe you're doing a proposal, or the type of scholarship that you are applying for has some sort of, gearing towards green energy, gearing towards conservation, gearing towards climate, etc. and so on and so forth. This is not to mean that other fields are not being funded. We definitely have several fields being funded in the arts, in education, in other science-based courses, engineering, also, and so on and so forth. There are so many of them. But the changes that are occurring would mean that you rethink what scholarship that you would want to apply for in the future. And once you rethink and then you have an informed decision, then you can do your application and ensure that you're doing as many as possible. It is not an easy game. It is quite tiring. It can be very draining, and you can feel that, it's an endless war. But what I can tell you is it's war that you have to keep on fighting until something happens. So I do hope that this video has given you some sort of insight and some sort of thought process on, your scholarship application in the future and what to look out for. And I do hope that, you shoot your shot in the right direction. And in case you have any questions, I'm always very happy to answer them. So please go ahead and ask them on the comment section down below on this video. And until next time, keep subscribed, share this video with somebody else who would benefit from it. And until next time, bye.